was checking my Instagram and I got a message and it said, "We're casting an Atlanta singles project." And I was like, okay, this has to be fake. Am I really going to marry this person without seeing them? I didn't know how that whole thing worked out. They basically said that too many people matched and they had to cut a few couples.
Welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Relationships. So I have a very special guest today, and his name is Westley. Hello, Westley.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining me. We have been trying to schedule this also for quite a while, but life has happened and it's okay. But yeah, we actually connected on Instagram, I think a while ago. I think it's been like, has it been a year? 6 months?
Yeah,
Somewhere around there.
yeah, at least it's been at least 6 months.
Yeah. And, we just are always chatting about, I don't know, random things and relationships and dating and all the things. And so I really wanted to get him on today because I just really, really value his point of view and what he shares on his Instagram. And so I thought that today would be a really great conversation to kind of dive into not only his background and to learn a little bit more about his background, his experience with Love is Blind, but also his walk with Jesus and how that has really shaped his life and how he approaches dating today and just how much he's grown. I think he's got so much valuable information to share with us today. So, Wesley, I'm so excited to get started and to hear more about your journey.
Thank you. I'm excited too.
Yeah. So, okay, first of all, I'm a big fan of Love is Blind. I love the show. I love the concept behind it. Especially just in our day and age with like social media and dating apps where everything is so focused on, appearance and all of that. But I'd love to hear kind of your journey, even getting to there, what dating life was like for you before the show, and then kind of how you even got on the show and kind of what your experience was like.
Yeah. Well, one, I never thought I was going to be on a dating show, to be honest with you. At the time when I got cast for it, I was 27. Leading up to that, I had a 2-year relationship that I was in. That was, very strong relationship. We were just at a different time in our life. She wanted to focus more on her career, which was out of state. And I was doing really well in my job. I was a manager for AT&T at the time, and I was really just trying to focus on my career. But what I realized is I was putting the relationship in front of everything else. And I think that's where most people struggle is the relationship becomes the idol. The relationship, the person is like the most important thing, which, it's like, can you live life without them? And I remember when we had split up, I was like, oh, this is easy. And it wasn't easy, right? It's never going to be just easy, even though people are like, oh, you'll move on. But what I did is I spent about 2 years just not dating. I wasn't perfect. I'll be honest with you. I was going on dates and, meeting girls, but I wasn't in a committed relationship. I wasn't, really focusing on that. I was out partying. I was doing the things that, a 25, 26-year-old would do, and was really successful in my job. And one day I was checking my Instagram and I got a message and it said, "We're casting an Atlanta singles project." And I was like, okay, this has to be fake. Like, there's no way this is a real message. And I had just gotten back from the gym and I was showing a buddy and he was like, message him back. And I was like, I don't know, I think it's a scam. He said, just do it. So I messaged him back and they actually messaged me right away and they said, can you get on a call today? And I was like, sure, I can right now, because I was just getting back from my lunch break. And they said it'll take 10 minutes. I was like, all right. So I go into a sales room. I was in there for an hour because I just talked. And I just had a really cool connection with the person I was talking to. And she was like, I think you'd be great for this. There's a ton of rounds. So it's not like the, first call and then you're on to the next thing. You have to go through a lot of, different testings, I guess you would say. And I, at the time, was like, well, why not give it a shot if it works out? And they found me from a picture that I had posted. I was doing a photo shoot for a clothing brand, and that's how they found my picture. And at the time, I probably had 15,000 followers. So I was posting a good bit on Instagram. I had a following. It wasn't near what it is now, but I was posting a good bit. And I think that's probably how they found me. It was from a
Mhm.
hashtag, actually. So they
Oh,
told me, well,
wow.
yeah, we found you from a hashtag. So for anyone that, hashtags may be dead, but back then they were not.
Wow.
And I went through the process. It took 3 months, and it was 3 months of non-stop calls. I took a call, I remember, in a hot tub in Houston, Texas one day. I was like in a hot tub and they called me and I had to answer. And that was the thing, is when I was going through this process, I had to be available whenever somebody needed to talk. And what that really came down to is like calling me to ask me different questions, calling me to get to know me a little bit more, just like we are right now. But what they were also trying to do is making sure that everything was aligning correctly, making sure that what I'm telling them now in a month, they might ask that same question in a different way and the answer is going to be the same. I
Hmm.
didn't know that, but that's why they're doing that.
Oh,
And so,
interesting.
yeah, so it would be um, not so much on like relationship is definitely the most important thing that they're going to ask
Mhm.
about, but it was also like, what do you like to do for fun? What is something that's a non-negotiable? But then it would go to, what do you want to have kids? Do you want to have this? Like, how are your political views? So it was just going full spectrum, but it was just
Mhm.
asked in different ways. And it was always with somebody different. Besides, there was one person I talked to like 5 or 6 times, but then it would be a new person. And
Interesting.
so I went through that process. I got down to the final, let's see, I think it was final 100 people.
Wow.
And they told me, they were like, hey, you made it to the final 100. Well, when I got to that, that is when I told my job, hey, guys, I'm going through this interview process to be on a dating show. It's called Atlanta Singles Project. It's going to be on Netflix. It's going to be like real world. That's what I told them because that's what I thought.
Hmm.
And the whole goal is, can you fall in love with somebody without seeing them? And they were like, that is the dumbest thing I've heard of. And I was like, honestly, it may be. I mean, I don't know what I'm getting myself into, but
Yeah.
I think it's a good opportunity for me to, really focus on getting to know somebody at a level that probably most people don't do. And they were like, well, we don't know if we can have you off of that amount of time because it was going to be 3 weeks. And then it was filming, I think, 4 to 6 weeks after that, somewhere around that time period.
Wow.
And I said, well, if I don't make it past the first few days, then it's only going to be a few days. I was like, please, I was begging them. I was like, if I get this, like, please let me do it. Because I was in sales, they didn't want me away. And so I ended up having to sign a ton of paperwork, basically put it in as like a leave for the next year. So I got no time off the next year if I was to go on the show. I told my job, I
Wow.
said, you guys are like, I'm doing this for me, but like, I also don't want to leave this job. Most people quit their jobs. I was
That's
like, I love where I
wild.
work. So they approved it. And I got down to the final, I think it was 40. I think that
Okay.
was the last like 40. And I was like, all right, I'm definitely gonna get it. Like I'm gonna be on the show. I could only tell my mom. I couldn't tell my
Mhm.
friends. I really couldn't share any information. And it was on my birthday. And this is when I didn't know if I was gonna make it because
Mhm.
they called me 2 weeks before, told
Mhm.
me I was down to the final 40, but I didn't get the call that I made it until 4 days before we were moving in the house. So I was like, okay, I'm not gonna
What?
like. They called me on my birthday. I was eating. It used to be called Zoe's Kitchen. Now it's called Kava. Great
Yeah.
restaurant. It's like a
Love
little like
kava.
yeah.
Mhm.
So that's where I was with a buddy. We were just sitting there eating dinner.
That's so cool.
And sorry, this was the day before my birthday. So it was September 26th. We were out eating and they called me. It was like 8:30 at night
Mhm.
and they were like, "Hey, Wes, check your email." That was the first thing I heard. I'm like, huh? And I got the email and it was basically like, "You've been selected. Here's your list of what you can wear and what you can't wear." And so the next 3 days after that, I was freaking out because you can't have stripes, you can't have logos, you can't have certain colors. So I spent like I don't know, probably $1,000 just in
Wow.
clothes. Now I
I
know
always
that's not a lot.
wondered, but I always wondered how that was. I'm like, you kind of have to go shopping, like, and get like,
Yeah.
because you're on camera all day, and there's so many
Yep.
days, and there's so many like when I watch the girls and they're at like this event, and then when you guys get to later, it's like, how many outfits can you pack? Like, I would be so
Mhm.
stressed out. That just I already have anxiety thinking about that.
So I'll tell you, I do pack like a girl.
Yeah, I
I
love it.
we you had to have a certain amount of outfits. So
Yeah.
I think it was 7 outfits that you basically would wear like the same outfit because we had a laundry staff, so you would wear the same outfit for different scenes, not like all day.
Hmm.
But you would have like your interview outfit had to be almost like the same one,
Hmm.
and then your day one outfit you wore multiple times because it's TV. They're going to piece things together the way that they want to piece them together.
Oh, this makes so much sense.
And yeah, and so I brought 2 suitcases, which they told us to bring 2 suitcases because one of them had to have like all the beach stuff. Because after, if you got selected, you were immediately the next day going to the beach. So you had to have a suitcase with just like beach outfits. So that's where the $1,000 was because I had to also get beach stuff. So it was um like new shirts, and you didn't want to like for me, I was like, I'm not gonna wear something that's boring. Like I'm gonna
Yeah.
wear nice, clothing, especially if it's gonna be on TV. And some of the stuff I bought didn't get approved, so I sent it in to my PA, and she was like, "No, you can't wear that shirt." I was like, "I
Wait, so
already bought it."
you had to actually get it all approved also?
Mm-hmm. It had to
Oh
all
my
be approved,
gosh. Okay, I had
and
no idea. That's so
so
in 4 days. You have to do all this in 4 days.
I had to do it in 4 days.
That's
Yeah, the
wild.
email was sent, and I was like, I was freaking out because the next day was my birthday. So I was like, I'm not going to be able to really like enjoy it. Well, I am, but then I'm also like, I got to worry about all this other stuff. And I was like, should I fast for 4 days? Like, that was one of the things I told myself. I was like, should I fast? Like, am I going to be shirtless ever? Like, while I'm
That's
there?
so
Like, I
funny.
didn't know what to, expect. And, so they called me like I think it was every day until then, and then I took an Uber to where we were supposed to go, which we all met at like a hotel to like check in, and that's when we saw all the other guys. So there's
Mm-hmm.
20 of us, 20 guys to start, and I actually knew 3 of them. I did not know they were trying to get on the show, but I knew
Yeah.
them personally,
Oh
so
wow.
that was pretty cool. And everyone was different ages, like anywhere from 25 to 40.
Okay.
So with it being the first season, they were trying everything.
Yeah. That's what it
Um,
seemed like.
yeah, but they also, they weren't prepared for it to work as well as it did. I don't think anyone in the production was probably like, all right, this is really going to work and it's going to blow up and this show is going to be the #1 dating show on Netflix. Like, I don't think they really saw that yet
Yeah.
because it was called Atlanta Singles Project. Like, that was the name that was
Just
on our
so
paperwork.
yeah, it's so crazy. I wonder when they came up with the name later, or if they already had it, or they were
I
kind of
think I'm trying to remember, but I think our papers still said like, because we had papers every day that had different questions and everything, and I'm pretty sure it still said Atlanta Singles Project. I just don't really remember, but I'm pretty sure it did say, because I don't think it said Love is Blind, because they were probably
crazy.
trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
Um, and so I got casted, got there. I thought we were staying in a house. We were not. We were staying in like on site kind of like trailers. And so they were like prison beds. They were not comfortable at all. Yeah, you
No
think
way.
you're, with TV, you're like, oh, I'm going to be in this mansion. That's what I thought.
Yeah. And they're
It
like,
was,
no, you get that little trailer back there.
yep.
Well, obviously it was the first season, so I guess that makes sense. I wonder if that's still how it is now. So when they're
I'm
in
not,
the like pod rooms, like the little living rooms and all that,
yeah.
there's no living quarters there.
I mean, it's a built out of like
Like a
a,
set.
yeah, out of a set, yeah. And so you would have like a pool table, you had like a little gym area, you had a kitchen, you had a living room,
Hmm.
and then the hallway.
Mm-hmm.
where a lot of the filming was done, which it was like the red carpet,
Mm-hmm.
and then you had the pods that were right behind it. And so basically, like the whole day, we would stay in that little bitty living.
Mm-hmm.
It really wasn't a living quarter, but it is.
Yeah.
And we would, I mean, sleep. Like people would sleep on the couch. We would take turns sleeping on the couch. We'd, do push-ups randomly. We would cook. We would drink. I mean, it's it wasn't that much fun to be honest because you're just doing the same thing, but
Yeah.
that is also why that like your mind is so all over the place. Like for me, I I don't think I was nervous, but I just didn't know what to think. Like when I
Yeah.
got there, I was like, okay, like for me, I was like, some of these guys I know, no disrespect, are going to be not who they really are. And I don't want to be like, I don't want to be a douche. I don't want to be a guy that comes across as like just a player.
Yeah.
And at the time, my faith was not as strong. I still believed in everything, but God was not at the center of my life
Mm.
because I had just really like gotten through a party phase and festival phase. I love music, and so I was going to festivals as much as I really could. And so when I went from that to then focusing on like, am I about to marry somebody? Everything changed.
Yeah.
And when you're in that, when you're alone and you're really in your own thoughts, it can either eat at you or it can help you if you're
Mm.
doing it for the right reasons. Like for me, I was like, it'd be amazing to be on a TV show. But I also was at a place in my life to where I was like, maybe I need to settle down. Relationships in the past didn't work the way I wanted them to. And I was ready to take that next step. But I didn't know really, like, am I really going to marry this person without seeing them? I didn't know how that whole thing worked out.
Yeah.
And I'll share a little bit about that. But yeah, the process when I got there was, we filmed 16 hours a day, 17
Okay.
hours a day.
Wow.
Um, they gave us whatever we wanted. I will say that. When it came to food, I wanted Halo Top ice cream. That's all I wanted. To be honest with you, I was like, give me some ice cream. People were wanting liquor, which I drank, but I also was very cautious because I was like, I
Yeah.
can't be like, I don't want to be drunk and then like, look like an idiot in front of all these people, like
Yeah, because
millions of
it's
people.
like that stuff's gonna follow you forever. It's like you
Yeah.
got to be a little smart with like these clips are gonna follow me forever.
Yep. And they had things that they want you to say. Like
Yeah.
every day, we're given a list of questions to ask the girls. So day one was sorry, 15. Day one was 15 dates that were 7 minutes long each. So basically, like blind dating.
Wow,
And
it's like
then
speed
after,
dating. That's
yep,
crazy. I didn't realize they're that
you
short.
would go from one to the next, and then you might take a break, and then the next, and the next.
Yeah.
And you would
Wow.
talk to every girl. Um, and because what we didn't know is like after the first day,
Hmm.
5 guys and 5 girls were not there. So it was only 15 and 15. So it was
Oh.
15 guys and 15 girls. And that day we went on 7 dates, and then we were supposed to give a top 10 based on those dates. And I'm like, well, how can you give a top 10 when you don't really
Yeah.
like know the person that much? But I
You
think in
have
seven
barely
minutes,
anything to go off of. Yeah, it's crazy.
in 7 minutes, you really can't like, if somebody for me, this is no disrespect at all, but I, I personally, I was like, I don't want to be with somebody that works late nights and is a bartender, right? So if a girl's like, yeah, I'm a bartender, that's probably not going to be somebody I want to be with. Even though she might have all the other qualities, maybe I'm not at a time in my life to where I can handle that potential jealousy or trust. And so I, had some of my reservations. I was like, I don't, I want to be with somebody that wants to have kids. Like that's
Mhm.
important for me. Somebody that believes in God. I want to be with somebody that, you know, loves to travel. That's not so like somebody that's gonna make me laugh and not
Mhm.
boring. Like I'm
Yeah.
a person to where I love to joke around. I like to, be the life of the party in a sense, but I also can pull back and just be like, all right, I can be a homebody as well. And when you're going into that and you have all these things that you want, you're not going to get all that. And that's the thing in a relationship is I think right now where most people struggle is we look at one red flag and we immediately cancel out the relationship, or we look at one thing that we disagree with. Now, if it's something big, understandable. But if it's something like, they have a terrible laugh, like you're gonna not be with somebody because of one thing, like,
Oh yeah.
or maybe they're not on time, to different things. Yeah, that can be annoying, but what if they have a lot of other good qualities? And I see that right now in the dating scene, is
Yeah.
we don't really get to know the person deep down because we're looking at like one or two things and we're immediately judging.
Yeah.
When you're on a show like that, you're focusing on the internal of that person and like how can this person make me feel just through talking to them. If we put, a blindfold, if people just talk to other people and put blindfolds and really got to know them, there would be more relationships probably just
Mm-hmm.
from people sharing things and then somebody else being like, oh my gosh, like I love that too. And I
Yeah.
think that's what Love is Blind did was, yes, the question is love blind? I don't know. I think it can be. But when you're on that show and you're under those, you know, um, I would say stressful situations as well. But when you're filming and you're doing this for 16, 18 hours a day and it's your only focus, you're not distracted by your phone. You're not
Yeah.
distracted by other things. You're not distracted by the world. We had no communication to the outside world. We had no distractions. And that is what made us be able to really focus on
Mm-hmm.
what the other side of this wall was saying and what
Yeah.
another person was saying. And it was beautiful because you started, like for me, after I would say the third day,
Mm-hmm.
you had your top 10 and you knew that if you were getting dates with the girls that you had in your top 10,
Mm-hmm.
that they probably also had you. Like they probably put you, say, one, two, three,
Mm-hmm.
4, or 5. And if you put somebody, say, 1, 2, or 3,
Mm-hmm.
and they put you at 10, you probably don't get another, maybe one more date with that person.
Yeah.
But that's when you kind of knew, okay, this person may not have been into me as much as I thought.
Mm.
And I had a girl that I really enjoyed talking to,
Mm-hmm.
Jessica. I really liked her. I thought she was great, very sweet. I think she got a really bad edit, but I really enjoyed our conversations, and I had her really high, and we went on a few dates, and then it stopped. And I was like, man, it kind of sucks. Um, but the person that I had number one the whole time is the person that I ended up matching with.
Mm.
And as the week progressed, the dates got longer. It went
Mm.
from 7 minutes to 20 minutes to an hour to 2 hours to 3 hours. There were days to where we would be on 3 hour dates. And really, some of it would be just sitting there, like almost, all right, we're going to take a 20-minute nap because like we're in here for 3 hours and we
That's
couldn't leave.
crazy. Oh, you really? So
Couldn't,
you were like stuck in there. You had to have.
I mean, if you had an emergency, you could, but
Dang.
there's a
That's
camera person in the wall
that's
that's filming
crazy.
everything.
Yeah, because you can't like you're just talking. You don't you're not like doing stuff and talking. You're just like sitting there and yeah, that's wild. Like little sitting ducks.
They did have different activities. Like one of the days, they brought like this painting board and we
Mm.
were able to like paint something for the other
Okay,
person.
fun.
So they did have little activities and they did a great job. Like the production crew did a great job of setting everything up. But it still was to the point of where sometimes you would go in there and you're like, I'm going to be in here for 2 hours. And there were a few of the pods that were extremely hot. And the guys knew which ones they were. We all knew which numbers it was.
Yeah.
So it was like number 1, 5, and 10. The air conditioning in the wall was like not working. And I remember like we would just be waiting, like, okay, which one is it? Which one is it? And then you'd see your name.
Oh, oh.
And if it was a date that you really wanted and it was in a pod that had bad air conditioning, it was like it was not fun. I will say
Oh
that.
man,
I would leave sweating. That's how bad it was.
that's crazy.
So
So tell me
yeah,
about your match. So because this is so fascinating to me. Because like I said, I love the show. I watched the UK one too. I just like love the concept. So it was really cool to see like kind of how the ins and outs work.
yeah.
Talk to me more about your match and how did how did that even come about? What about her made you want to really connect with her? And then kind of what led you to proposing? You proposed first, is what I
Yep.
read. Okay. So yeah, it's fun. It's crazy to hear that because you went in being like, am I actually going to do this? So it's
Yeah,
crazy.
I didn't know I was going to be the first one. I think they did it by last name, to be honest with you.
Mm.
But yeah, there was a few things about her that and she has so many good qualities. We're still friends. Um, but I'll say when I first heard her voice, I loved her voice. That was something that stood out to me. She kind of has this like raspy voice, and I think it's attractive. She told me she was a cheerleader, so I was like, okay, she likes, working out. She likes to, she was really good at it too. She told me she was like, yeah, I was like, I think won a national championship, and I was like, okay, that's impressive.
Mm-hmm.
But where I connected with her the most was I just feel like I could sit there and laugh with her all day. Like we just had great banter. We were able to like really connect on a level that wasn't so like cookie cutter. Like we were just able to be ourselves. And I
Yeah.
think that's something I look for, in a relationship now is like, can I be myself around you? Can I be vulnerable around you? But can you take me as I am and be like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, you might be a little weird in this area, but like
Mm-hmm.
that's who you are.
Yeah.
And that's something that really stood out. And she has a great family. She was telling me all about her family, and family is super important for me. And so all those things were great. But there was one day that changed everything for me. And I wish they could have shown it because I think that there would have been so many people that would have seen this moment and would have been like, I wish I could have had that. Was we were told three things that we were supposed to bring. So from the production crew, they were like, we want you guys to bring three gifts. And these gifts you can give to any girl.
Mm-hmm.
And these gifts are basically something that um, almost like relates to your life or things to look for in the future.
Mm-hmm.
So one of mine was a lighthouse. I have a lighthouse tattoo on my arm.
Oh, nice.
And so it was a glass lighthouse. The other one was a like a travel map. It was like a really, really cool map. And then the last one was this like glass diamond. It was like a massive one, kind of like you
Mm-hmm.
would like place on a desk. Then it
Oh,
was like
like
one of
a yeah,
those.
yeah, like a paper stack thing.
Yeah, yeah. And there was a day to where you could give at any time. You could give this
Mm-hmm.
gift. You would just tell production, "Hey, I want this gift given to this person at this time."
Mm-hmm.
And there was one day to where they said, you guys can do whatever you want with one specific date. Like you can do something special for one specific date. And I was like, okay, well, that day I did this like, I would tell them what to do. I couldn't see it, but they basically like brought her two of the gifts. I think I gave her both, two of them that day. And then some like wine, some cheesecake, and then they like did some decorating and stuff. But what she did for me was really special. As a kid growing up, I didn't really have much. I love my family. I'm very close with my mom, very close with my stepdad now, but didn't have like my real dad was not in my life,
Mm-hmm.
and we struggled most of my life. And the only thing I ever wanted as a kid was the feeling of Christmas. Um, and I don't know if my parents even listen to this, they'll know that this is what was so tough for me was I didn't care about the gifts. I just wanted to have a big family. I wanted the feeling of walking down the stairs and everyone's hanging out and there's music playing and like everyone's just celebrating. I didn't get to experience that as a kid. I didn't experience that really much of my life. I had a really small family. My grandfather, which was like my dad, passed away when I was 10. And outside of that, it was just my mom, my uncle, and my grandma until she passed away, and my stepdad. And so I never had that experience. And so I was telling her about that was something that I really look forward to in starting a family. And I think with her sharing me about her family, I was like, that's something I really want is like a big family. And I told her that I'm obsessed with cheesecake. So I did the same thing for her, but I was like, I love cheesecake and I love Pinot Noir because I was big in the wine drinking then.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I was an expert, even though I'm not. I would walk into a store and try to sell bottles of wine to the other people in the store, and they were like,
That's
"You don't work."
hilarious.
But I was like,
You're
"Well, I
like, have
think
you
I know all
tried
this stuff."
this?
Yeah, I was like literally selling bottles of wine at a Total Wine
That's
store for
hilarious.
them. Um,
It's hilarious.
and I told her I was like, I love wine, I love cheesecake, and I got into the pod, and there was did not know this was gonna happen. There was Christmas music playing. There was cheesecake. There was wine. There was decorations. There was a Santa hat, and there was a note that said, like, I hope this can, like, it was something really special. I forgot what it said, but it was like, I hope this small Christmas can help you. And
Oh.
it brought me to tears because like none of that was planned. I didn't know
Mm-hmm.
that day, like we could do this at any time.
Mm-hmm.
So like the day that I was doing something for her was a different day. And so when I walked in and saw all that, I was like, oh my gosh.
Oh.
Like,
Dang. I wish they would have showed that. That's like
and
because we haven't really seen anyone since do like something quite like
yeah,
big. It's always like a small activity or like,
yeah.
but that's really sweet. I wish they would have showed that.
I just wish they would have done it in a way to where it could have shown that like somebody that is listening on the other end. She was listening to every single thing I was saying that I liked, and that's what she told them to do. And there were to have like a Santa hat that was just like sitting on the couch when I walked in. I was like, all right, like this girl, like nobody else is gonna do this.
Yeah, it's really
And
sweet.
I really like, the conversations that we're having. I didn't really see any red flags, and that's, there wasn't things to where I could sit there and be like, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so we ended up like, I think we both had each other either one or two the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
The other girl I had, Kelly from the show,
Mm.
I actually knew her. So like, I knew what she looked like. I did not know her like personally, but I knew what she
Yeah.
looked
Yeah.
like. That wasn't planned, but when you have everyone from Atlanta, things like that are going to happen.
Yeah, I feel like it's like a big city, but it's kind of small also.
Yeah. And so ended up proposing to the girl and to Lexi. And the last
Mm.
day where we were supposed to
Mm-hmm.
proposed, she said yes. The next day is when we did the reveal. And so we basically had to get dressed. We sat in a trailer for like 5 hours, like literally sitting there waiting. And I was the
Oh my
first
gosh.
person to go. Um, and I waited, I think, like 20 minutes in that room. I was nervous as you know what. They told us to pick out a ring. I thought they were real. They were not. But they were like, pick out a ring of one of these three that she would like. So I picked one out, and the door opened, and then there she was, and I ran out, and
Okay, wait,
went,
I have a question about that. I've always wanted
yeah,
to know. Is there
yeah.
actually music playing in the background or is it like dead silent?
Um, no, there was no music. I didn't
Oh
think there was any
God, I
music.
feel like
Not,
that's
not
so
for.
awkward. Like have
Well,
something.
it was
Okay.
because I remember it being very quiet. I will say, when I looked to the right of me, there was about 100 people standing
Wow.
there
Yeah.
because it was all like production crew,
Yeah,
cameras,
for sure.
um, and so I didn't plan for that. But yeah, it was quiet, and then I like because we were also being quiet because I was like, I don't want to like, yeah, I know they're gonna hear me because I have a mic on, but I didn't know what to say in the moment,
Yeah.
and I think I said, "Are you ready for Cancun?" or something. I don't know. I know I said like because I had to get on one knee as well and actually
Yeah.
do it in person, but I dropped the ring while I was doing it. Like I went to open it and the ring came out of the box, and I was like, that would be
You're like,
what would
great.
happen.
Yeah, you're like off to a good start.
Yeah, I was like, can we redo that? But ended up asking her, she said yes, and then they basically took us away, and
Yeah.
then put us put us in a like not together, but went
Hmm.
to a hotel
Hmm.
separate. The guys were in one, the girls were in one, and it was 7 couples that matched. And this is where it got kind of crazy: is they didn't know that many people were going to match. Um, when you have 7 couples that match and you're filming their life for multiple weeks after the show,
Hmm.
it's going to take a lot of people to do that.
Hmm.
And so the next day, I got a knock on the door, and I wasn't planning for this. I thought I was going to find out when my flight was. But I got a knock on the door and they were like, it was two guys in suits. And they were basically like, we got some good news and some bad news. And I was like, I don't even know who you guys are. And they basically said that too many people matched and they had to cut a few couples. So I was like, the first thing I said was, why me? Because I was like, well, why? Like, why would you cut us? Like, I said, were we not drama enough? And they were like, no, no, we're not going to say that. But, there's a few other couples that we think would, really fit this story and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, all right, whatever. And it sucked because, I still wanted to go through the process with it. And I didn't know what life was going to be after that. And so they basically there was three guys that got cut.
Mm-hmm.
And they took us to the girls' hotel. And I went with her to, got an Uber to my apartment. What's crazy is she lived right next to me. I didn't know that. She lived in the apartment complex next to me, not like right next door, but
Yeah.
I lived in this high rise and she lived in the low rise that was right next to me.
What?
And I was like, that's crazy.
That's wild.
So that was, crazy times. And I don't want to talk too much in it because we'll just,
Yeah.
I could talk so much about it, but we ended up dating a little bit after that.
Okay.
For a few months. And like I said, it was probably the one relationship, maybe because like it was new for us, but we didn't argue, we didn't fight. We were really focusing on not getting like physical because both of us were like, okay, we don't really know each other. Like this is a little different. Like I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna sex with you. Like we've been knowing each other for 2 weeks. We've never even seen each other's like in person.
Yeah.
Like, we're not going to do that. And like we both were wanting that because we really wanted to focus on like, well, can we like physically be attracted to each other, but not just in that way.
Yeah.
And we dated for a few months and things just didn't work out. I think we were both, I had quit my job because I got back to my job and things were changing. And so I ended up quitting my job. She quit her job. So that was giving us a lot of alone time. Like we were getting to know each other. We were, we were going to like concerts, Braves game or different events. And I felt good about the relationship, but I just didn't know if it was going to be something like long term. I just didn't. I wasn't sure. And when they cut us, it was definitely like this sucks. But I had to sit back and say, am I doing this for the right reasons?
Yeah.
And shortly after we got cut, and after the show was like done with filming, she ended up getting a really good job working in New York in the Hamptons for a fashion company. And I remember just talking to her and I was like, you need to take that. Like, you need to do this. Because I was like, we're not going, like, we weren't hurting each other. Neither of us were like out trying to find someone else. We were very like, it's either this or we're just not going to like date somebody for a little while.
Yeah.
And because we couldn't talk about this, so it wasn't like I got home.
That's crazy.
And like, hey everyone, here's my fiance. Like I couldn't say that.
Yeah.
And so that's also tough.
Yeah, that's absolutely
tough.
Like
we were going out, but I was not going out with her with my friends because I signed an agreement, and so.
So it wasn't like normal, right? You don't get the normal everyday like dates and your friends are meeting her, and so it's I imagine it's hard to date kind of in that space, especially for those people too, like who on some of the seasons where they didn't say yes to the altar and they tried to date after. I don't even know. There's not a lot of success after that.
Yeah,
it's
I think we were both distressed from the whole situation. I said, we both quit our jobs. So we had all that alone time. And I think that also was a struggle with just when you're around somebody for so long and like, an extended amount of time and you're not being able, like you said, like we're not being able to do things with other people really. it can be tough. You're not able to see like how is this person around their
Hmm.
friends? Like how is
Yeah.
this person around other people? How are they going to be around my friends? Because that's
Hmm.
something that's important
That's
too.
huge. I think that's
Hmm.
super important. How are they with your family? Yeah.
Yep.
How do they interact with their? Because I feel like you learn so much about people when you put them in these situations. And it's funny because in the past I used to be like, oh, I don't want to introduce the person I'm seeing to my friends for a long time. I would wait like 6 months, and now I'm like. To second month, like let's go out with some friends. Like I actually want them integrated because I feel like you learn so much about somebody so much quicker. So I can imagine how tough that is not to be able to do that and then to try and have a normal relationship out of that.
I'm going to ask you a question. What do you think is the normal time that somebody's getting to know somebody? This was a conversation I was talking to somebody else about. They're getting to know somebody and they're talking to this person every day.
Mm-hmm.
When is the time where you tell your parents, hey, like I'm talking to this person? Because for me, with a mom that wants to know everything,
Mm-hmm.
I've always been somebody that would like, even if I was just dating somebody, I would be like, yeah, I'm starting to get to know this girl. But what I started to find out was the sooner I would tell my parents, most of those didn't work out. And so it would just leave my mom asking questions
Mm-hmm.
that I didn't want to answer.
Yeah.
So what do you think is like a normal time? I mean, there's not a specific.
Yeah. I don't know if there's like a specific time, but I would say make sure it has some legs. So I would give it at least 3 months, maybe 3, 4 months. Because I've been in the same boat. I think I've gone back and forth on this where I've told people too early, and not just because I'm like, oh yeah, I'm started seeing this guy. It seems really great. He seems nice. Like I'm kind of like a little bit excited about it. Like, oh, this is,
Yeah.
and then it like doesn't go anywhere. And then it's like the hard part is then they start asking questions, and then you're like, oh yeah, we're not together anymore. And it's like, how many times do I have to like repeat that? And so I find like at the 3 month mark is usually when I'm like, I want to see you with my friends. I want to make sure like, does this have legs? Is this actually going somewhere? It kind of, after 3 months, like, you kind of know it's going to go one way or another. I'd say the three
Yeah.
month mark is generally that. So that's when I like to introduce them to just friends, like in a casual way, not like double dates, but like a friend's birthday or like an event or like, maybe a brunch with a bunch of people, like having them in a larger setting with friends. I like to see how they're going to do. Like, I don't want to babysit anybody. So I'm like, can you go? Can you communicate? Can you like, so it gives me a good idea. But I'd say I don't really tell my family much, like 3 month mark at most. Cause it's like, it's not really anything to talk about at that point.
I think it's hard for people too because you get that excitement. It's like
Hmm.
people say like the butterflies. I mean,
Yeah.
like women would use that word. Like you
Hmm.
get that feeling to where you're like, I enjoyed talking to this person. I could
Hmm.
see myself potentially getting to know them, and I want to share the good news. Like,
Yeah.
but same thing. It's like
Yep.
sometimes you say it too early, and then something doesn't work out,
I
and
know.
brings you down, and then people are questioning, and it's just I've
Yeah.
been there before to where I've done that, and
Yeah.
my mom would be like the first person I would tell, and it wouldn't work out. And then
Yeah. Hmm.
she'd be like, "Oh, you could definitely get better." I'm like, "Mom, maybe it was me." Like straight up, maybe it was me. Like I don't know. Like don't take my side on everything. I'll
Yeah.
always tell her that. Like maybe it was I wasn't ready enough. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like maybe she found somebody that was willing to do this and I wasn't. Whatever it is.
Yeah.
So
No, I
yeah,
get that. I get that. And
100%.
it's hard too because I think I've gone back and forth on it because it's like, well, damn it, I want to be excited about somebody. Like, let me just have the little excitement, even if it doesn't go anywhere. Like, let me at least like have the like 1 month of joy that it brought me, and then let it be whatever it's gonna be. But so it's like I go back and forth and like, do I want to share the excitement, and then deal with the aftermath of it, or just kind of keep the excitement to myself? So,
Yeah.
and then I think if you tell too many people, it gets you almost like too excited because then they're
Yeah.
like feeding into it. And then you're like, yeah, and it builds it up too much. So that's why I found the sweet spot is probably around 3 months. And that's like 3 months of serious, like actually like not casually like, oh, we hang out every 4 weeks, like someone
Yeah.
you're actually like pursuing. So,
Yeah.
so you had post that after your guys' breakup, you had quite the experience. It sounds like you moved, you had this whole 6 month um like adventure in the Southeast Asia, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me like what even like led to that. So you guys, I mean, it sounds like you guys dated for a couple months and kind of realized that this wasn't it. This wasn't it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. It was about 2 months.
or 2 months.
About
Yeah.
2 months. Yeah.
So and then
Yeah. So we dated.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, no, go ahead. Yeah. What led to kind of this, you obviously quit your job, so it's kind of a good time, but what kind of led to it after breakup?
Yeah, when we broke up, I at the time had some money saved up and I had a coach. This is the one thing that changed everything for me, and it's why I tell people if you're at a place in your life financially and you can invest in something, invest in a coach. It's going to help you in a space that you really need it. For me, it was my health and fitness. It
Mm-hmm.
was more of getting the accountability. And so I had a coach at the time that I was working with him right before the show. So we were working together. I basically was on like a 90-day program
Mm-hmm.
and I told him, hey, I'm going to be gone for 3 weeks. And he goes, no worries, we'll extend it an extra month. And I said, that's amazing. His name's Ruben Brooks, one of the nicest people I know. He lives out in San Diego, and
Nice.
he helps men and women both with, it's basically online fitness coaching.
Mm-hmm.
But at the time, a lot of people were really focusing on the mindset space,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now it's very popular, but at the time when he saw the need for it,
Mm-hmm.
he also invested in a coach that was helping all of us. And so I was working with two coaches,
Mm-hmm.
and the other coach was a female, and she was just focusing on not so much on the fitness side of things, but more on the mental space, the emotional side. And he was kind of overarching over all of it. And having him as a coach, you know, the the one thing I learned the most out of all of it was not only to have that accountability was so important, but to have somebody that was like, all right, Wes, this is where you're at in your life right now. What are you missing? What is something that you are lacking, but what's something that you want to do that you're not pursuing? What is something that you know is eating at you every day? And I was like, I don't know. And that was like our conversations. And he goes, you're at a place where you could just go get another job. That's easy. But why not do something that scares you? Why not do something that people are going to look at and judge you for? And that conversation is what led me to being like, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have my bucket list. And I wrote 50 things I wanted to do. One of them was to travel the world, but that is so broad. I mean, travel the
Yeah.
world, where? And I was telling myself these things, and I was starting to see friends. I was starting to get ads on Facebook. And
Mm-hmm.
I had a friend that was like posting about being in Bali. I was like, that place looks amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I knew nothing about Bali, but I was like, that place looks really cool. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. Like, there's no way. I'm not going to travel. Like, I still have my apartment and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did was I had 2.5 months on my lease, and in that 2.5 months, I had no job.
Mm-hmm.
So I was flipping random things. I was going to Marshall's, buying football cleats, and I was flipping them on eBay to make $40 here, 50. And I had money at the time. I had a savings that could have been fine, but mentally I was like, there's no way that every day I can just not do something that is making money. And for
Yeah.
me, at the time, I wasn't a coach, so I was like, how can I make money? eBay, flipping things. And so that's what I
That's
did.
crazy.
And I ended up making, I don't know, in the 2 months, probably like 4 grand just flipping
No
random
way.
things.
From
I
flipping?
swear.
Dang, that's
Yeah,
actually pretty good.
I bought they had these Nike Vapor cleats. They were $40 and I was selling for 100. And I went into Marshall's one day and they had 30 pairs and I bought every single one of them. I sold every single one of them. I
Wow.
don't know, and they were selling for 80 to $100 each one. And
Wow.
I hated dealing with all the boxes and everything,
Yeah,
but
I'm sure.
I was making a pretty good bit of money, and
That's crazy.
I think I had at the time it was probably a month and a half on my lease, and I wasn't gonna renew.
Yeah.
But I was like, what am I gonna do? Because I didn't have any plan.
Yeah.
And I had a friend in Bali. I started doing the research, and my coach said, just do it. And I was like,
Go.
he's like, just go. And so one of my bucket list items was to hang out with elephants. I've always wanted to do that. Thought that would be so cool.
So
And
fun.
yeah, it was a really good experience. And the last week of my coaching, I was working with the other coach, and she was like, I want you every day for the whole week to write a love letter to yourself. And I want it to be different things every day. And I want you to sit there until you have it done. It had to be a page every single day.
Wow.
And she wanted me to read it to her. And the more I started to, after day two, it was really hard. I was like,
Mhm.
what do I love about myself? Like, really? Like, I've already said everything. But what helped through that 5 days, which
Mhm.
was, and this is something I tell people to do, I was talking to my Bible study guys about it, is reach out to 10 of your closest friends and ask them what is your biggest strength, but also what is your biggest weakness, and have them be honest. As like, hey, be as honest as you can with me. Like, I want you to be, you
Mm.
know, tell me what you see in me that I might not see in myself, but also what you see
Mm.
that I lack or that I'm struggling with that
That's
I'm
good.
pushing to the side. And I did that, and my eyes were opened. A lot of the strengths were things I already knew, but
Mhm.
the weaknesses were things that I was like, okay, this is gonna help. Like, and I had to, like, none of it was bad, but like some of it I had to sit back and be like, I don't believe that, but
Yeah.
that's the way somebody else sees it. So that helped me a ton. And
That's huge. That's huge to do that. I think that's really hard for people to do, but I think it's so valuable, especially with your close friends, because they see your patterns, especially when
yeah,
it comes to dating. I actually had to do this with a friend, with friends to be like, where am I the problem?
mm-hmm,
And it's like, I'm like, no, I need you to tell me where you think I fall short, or or what are my patterns that what am I blind to? What am I missing?
yeah,
And it's so valuable, one, to have friends in your life that will actually speak truth and not tell you what you want to hear. And friends that also have done, I hate when it does this. The thumbs up. But
yeah. Oh, because you have
I
to
don't
follow
know how to turn that off,
that.
but yeah, no, I think that that's like so valuable. It's so important because we can't see a lot of this stuff, ourselves. We just can't. We need people in our lives to kind of just shine a little mirror to the things that maybe we just aren't aware of.
Yeah, and it helped. It really did. Like I was saying, I tell my guys in Bible study about it. Like, hey, do this with your friends. It could be, hey, what do you guys see in me, and like in a faith space that I'm, lacking, or something that that could help me become a, better Christian, or
Mm-hmm.
a better follower, whatever it is. And
Yeah.
so you can do that any way you want. But I ended up doing that, and it helped me. And the end of the week, I ended up booking a one-way flight, and I had Sky Miles. I didn't have to pay for the flight, which was crazy.
Awesome. And you went to
It took
Bali?
me, yep. So I started in Bali.
So wild.
So,
I just did that. We had the same. I literally quit my job in January and I went to
yeah,
Bali in February.
yeah, it was amazing. I was there for 2 months. So
Nice.
I did, let's see, I started in Ubud. So I was in Ubud and had a house there with some friends. And then I went to Xingu, Kuta,
Mhm.
Uluwatu was one of my favorites. And so I was kind of all over, and I started to feel like I was one with the culture. Like, I was like not wearing a shirt on a scooter all the time, riding around. I was like, all I need is like, you know, it's funny because like some of the people, they'll have a scooter, and they'll have like these baskets that are on the back of them, and they have like
Yeah.
dogs on them, and they're
I've
just like
seen that.
riding through. I'm like,
Yeah.
how are they doing this? I was like, that's what I do.
Dude, the
Uh,
traffic there was wild
uh,
to me. When I went, I just remember like getting out of the hotel and we were like, what the heck? It was just like
yeah.
chaos. Like the hotel is all like zen. We stayed at this
Hmm.
like cute little we stayed at a couple, but like it's all zen and like green and calm.
Hmm.
And then you just walk out the front door and you're like it's just chaos. Like the driving and all that.
The
It's so fun.
honking is probably the worst. Is like
It's
hearing the honking nonstop.
Yeah, it's quite literally nonstop. But that's
Yeah.
amazing. So you had a really I imagine it was pretty transformative. So what was life like? You went there. I guess what was your biggest takeaway from this trip? Because before it,
Yeah.
you were already kind of doing a lot of self development work, and I love that what you said about
Yeah.
coaching. Not to like plug myself, but like I am also a coach, and
Yeah.
I've gotten coaching myself too, which is why I got into this world is because it is so valuable. It's so valuable to sometimes we just need a third party. We need someone who doesn't know it
Hmm.
super well, who can keep us accountable, in our relationships too, in our goals that we have for our lives. It's hard to do everything entirely on our own. And so I just think, man, it's like when you find a really good coach and, you know, It's so invaluable. And whatever, whether it's fitness, whatever your goal is, like you said, business, fitness. I have a business coach and I have a personal coach. It's like it's incredible. It's incredible to be able to do that. But curious for you, what was your biggest takeaway from this trip?
Yeah. So when I got out there, like I say, it was a one-way flight. Didn't know what was going to happen. I basically told all my friends, like, hey, I'm going to go to Bali and I might be there for 2 months. I might be there for 3 months. I ended up being out there for almost six. And so I started in Bali, then went through all of Southeast Asia.
Mm.
And so I was in Vietnam for a month. I was in Thailand for 2 months. I was in Singapore, Malaysia, Cambodia, all over.
Wow.
But the one thing that I probably realized more than anything is we live in a world where materialistic things are so in front of us that it's really hard to enjoy life outside of the cars, the boats, the nice clothes. When I was over there, I was the happiest I've ever been in a space where I didn't know anyone, and I didn't care if my shirt had stains on it, like they didn't, but like
Mm-hmm.
I didn't care what I was wearing. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
care. Yes, I cared about how I looked, but I wasn't really focusing on those things. But
Mm-hmm.
I cared about how I looked, but I
Yeah.
wasn't really focusing. When I got back from that, before that, I struggled with spending money on things that just I don't know why I was doing it. Like I was buying jeans for $250, like, and I didn't care, but I wanted to because I was making good money, feel worth what I was making. I bought a brand new car. I tell the story about how I always valeted my car because I wanted to feel cool. I went through that phase,
Mm-hmm.
I went through it, and when I got back, I remember I was like, because I had bought a new car like a year before that. And when I got back, I just didn't even care about it anymore. And at the time, it was a brand new Mercedes. And I didn't valet it after that. When I got home, I was like wanting to sell it. I didn't want to like move back to Asia because 6 months was a lot.
It's a long,
But when
yeah,
I
long time.
when I got here, I just wasn't focusing on the like materialistic things. They were not what it wasn't what was bringing me happiness. And
Yeah.
so that was my probably biggest takeaway. And then when I got back, I didn't have as much success with it, but I tried getting into coaching myself. I launched I think for me, why it didn't, why it failed was I gave up on myself too early. I
Mm-hmm.
spent all this money out there, even though it wasn't a lot, but like I came back and I was like, I kind of have to work. Like I've been gone for 6 months and
Yeah.
I'm running out my savings account. And I was like, all right, I'm going to bet on myself. So I started a coaching program. It was called Unleash Your Purpose. My goal was to help men specifically find their purpose. And how I thought that I could showcase that is what I did in my life because nobody was traveling when I was doing it. Nobody was going for 6 months to Asia. So my goal was how can I help people find their purpose? And if it's through travel, if it's through, um, you know, whatever else it is, like I'm going to try to help them. And so I had 4 clients. I think I got my first month. And after about 90 days, I was like, is this something that I really want to keep at? Because I was investing all my money, and any coach out there does this usually. I was investing all my money back in the business. My website cost a few $1,000s. Yes, I spent way too much on it. I was investing in like every single program. I wanted to have everything set up correctly. I was like, all right, these guys are going to get welcome gifts. I was spending all the money I could on my clients, and I was making nothing, which the money is not what it's about.
Yeah.
When you come to a place and you're like, all right, and God was not the center of my life. I didn't have the
Mm-hmm.
faith I have now. So I didn't have that faith that was like, all right, Wes, my back's against the wall and you're going to be able to make it through
Yeah.
this. You need to be sitting down in prayer. Because when I got back from Bali, I was sitting down to meditate. I was doing yoga and meditation and mindfulness. That was the phase back then, was the meditation,
Yeah.
mindfulness kind of lifestyle. Um, and that's what I was seeing firsthand. And
Mm-hmm.
so God was not involved in my life even when I was in Asia. I brought a Bible with me, but I was not in prayer every day. I was not reading. I was really focusing on like seeing the world differently,
Yeah.
but I was still not realizing that I was distracted from the thing that I really needed the most. Um, and maybe I would have came home earlier, but
Yeah.
that 6 months really helped me just see culture, see new people, um, not be so distracted by my phone. There were times to where I would just leave my phone in the hotel and just go.
So
Like I
nice.
would go to the beach and just like I would usually have my phone if it was like a nice sunset, but I could not have my phone for 12 hours and I would be fine over there.
It's so
So
nice.
that
I actually
definitely,
do that. I do that now. I started doing that recently where I just like go to the beach, leave my phone at
yeah,
home. I've gone to a friend's house, left my phone at home. Like I've been trying to do that more and more, and it's so liberating. Oh my gosh. Not having it, man, it is it's such a distraction. Like it
it
actually
is.
makes me mad. Like it makes me mad because I realize how much time is wasted on it. And time I could be spending doing anything else, you
Yeah.
know? So I understand that. So I'm curious for you, when when did your faith become more of a central part of your life? Like what was I don't know if it was a moment or maybe a progression, but when did you realize like, wait a second, I'm doing this backwards?
One, I want to ask you if I can be as real as I can be.
Yes, we love honesty on this
Uh,
podcast.
um, so when I got back from Asia, um, I wasn't dating. Um, and I think my relationship with God, where I'm going to get to, is it really started from a bad breakup.
Mm,
But when I got back, I um, let's see, I got back in June of 2019,
mhm,
and I ended up meeting somebody right in like September.
mm,
We dated long distance for like 3 months. We saw each other like every other weekend.
mm.
It was just a fling. It wasn't anything that was concrete.
Yeah.
Um, I I was proud of myself because, you know, I every man struggles with lust, and I was just when I was out in Bali, I wasn't struggling with it out there, but I was struggling with it when I got back.
Mm,
And not so much in the sense of like watching it. Like I was struggling because I just wanted to be drinking and around women all the time. I was very confident in myself, and sometimes that confidence will, bite you in the butt. And I was never really, I wasn't experiencing a relationship that was lasting because I was like focusing on the physical.
mm,
And so that's something that I did struggle with. And I had that relationship that was like 3 months, didn't last. I think one of the reasons was because we were just way different people, but also it was long distance, and I just really I didn't get to see her enough,
mhm,
and so that didn't work out. I then got into a relationship when COVID hit.
mhm,
I was living with my good friend at the time. He ended up being in the hospital. I had to find. I was like dating this girl, but
mhm,
we were not together. We were kind of like getting to know each other. My roommate gets pneumonia right when people are finding out about COVID.
mhm,
He's in the hospital for 2 weeks on a ventilator. Didn't know if he was going to make it. And I couldn't live in my apartment because everyone was freaking out about the germs and everything. So people were like, you had to wear like not only masks, like these big bug suits. If somebody was to get COVID, you couldn't be around any of the stuff. Like you had to deep clean everything. And so everyone was telling me you shouldn't stay in your apartment. And so I asked the girl that I was getting to know. We were dating, but I was like, "Can I stay with you?" She was like, "Yeah, yeah, sure." And we got really close. We dated for 2 years. She was a nurse in the NICU, and got really close with her. Her family. There was a time to where I was like, okay, I could see. I would never get in a relationship with somebody. Like if it lasts over 6 months, I'm seeing myself with you to marry you. I don't want to be in a relationship just to date. I don't know why people do that. I personally can't do that. I don't think you just come to a point at say 6 months and you're like, okay, now I want to marry this person. No, if you can see yourself. The way I look at it is I look at a relationship as because I want to have kids, and if God willing, but if that doesn't happen, then I understand. But I look at somebody as like, can I see this person being the mother of my children? Can I see this person being a motherly figure and being a support system? That's very important to me. But when I was in this relationship with the girl that I was just talking about, the things that were probably important to me now were not then. God was not in our life. We were not going to church. We weren't drinking and partying every week. And I will say that we were very close with each other. Like COVID was going on, so we kind of had to be. But I was settling, and I think for her, she got into a job where she was able to travel nurse during COVID, and I think that opened her eyes to traveling. And we ended up splitting up. It was clean at the time. Like we ended up splitting up after 2 years. She was like, I want to move to Tampa. I didn't want to move. I didn't want to go. So I was like,
Mm.
our relationship is not as strong as it could be.
Mm-hmm.
We still had things that we were working on. And I wasn't willing to drop everything here in Atlanta, move to Tampa
Yeah,
for her job.
it's a lot.
That's where we were at. And I was doing really well at the job I was in. So I was like, I'm not gonna do it. So we ended up splitting up, and I this is where it got tough is I ended up, let's see, a month before we had split up, we were all at a Braves game, and we were with a bunch of friends,
Mm-hmm.
and there was other girls there, and I didn't talk to any of them, but like my friends brought some girls, and after me and my ex had split up, probably like a month after that, I remembered one of the girls, and I was like, she was really cute. I miss being with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it wasn't like I got broke, like we split, and I was like, I miss being with somebody. So I'm gonna message this girl and see if I'm this is like a month after. I don't know why I did this, but I was like, hey, it was good to meet you a month ago. I think that's what I said. Like, it was good to meet you at the Braves game. So bad of me. I was like, why did I do that? But it worked. I mean, I didn't know where it was gonna lead to, but it ended up leading to she knew me and the girl were broken up with, but we ended up going on like a date, and she actually asked me on a date, and I ended up dating her for 2 years, and
Right.
I did think I was going to marry this girl. I was very close with her family. We went to Michigan all the time. I traveled. I loved her to death. I literally would do anything for her. I'm one of those guys where I write notes. I'm somebody that will write notes not on just your car, but if I know that you're still sleeping and I got somewhere to be, I love writing like little notes, and she loved that.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't always mutual, but it's okay. We ended up getting a dog together, and
Wow. Okay.
we were
Pretty
lived
fast.
together. Yeah, we moved in together after about 8 months to save. We were like, all right, like this kind of makes sense. My roommate wants a house because I had a roommate at the time. He wants a house, so why not I move out? Me and her like basically get our own one bedroom, and so that's what we did. And then so we had that. We started to go really closer after about a year. Like the first year was great. I think it was like a huge honeymoon phase because
Mm-hmm.
I had never been with somebody that was so confident, so outgoing, so
Mm-hmm.
like she was a trainer for a big organization, works with a lot of guys. So she's, very confident in who she is, and that's something that I think I was missing in a relationship. And she was missing somebody that was going to treat her right. She had
Mm-hmm.
been through so many bad breakups, men that abused her, hit her,
Yeah.
all these things. And so I kind of knew that ahead of time. But this relationship is where I did not realize if trauma is involved in a previous relationship and it is not healed, it is going to keep leading to more cuts. And that is what led me into where I am now in my relationship with God, was through a lot of pain. It was through a lot of brokenness. Um, After about a year, her trauma and her past stuff, um, SA is the term I'm going to use, from men and certain things, I did not realize the magnitude of it until we
Yeah.
were deep into the relationship. And I believe in God. God was in my life. I wasn't going to church with her. We were
Mm-hmm.
sinning left and right. And I mean that in a way of like we were partying all the time. We were, like we were living together. We were intimate with each other. We were doing all those things. And that to me was like, okay, I have never been with a girl that like has made me this happy, but also like I'm doing these things out of the feel to like the need to like, oh, I need to go out this weekend because her
Mm-hmm.
friends are going to be here. I was
Yeah.
not realizing that I was sacrificing my own life in a sense
Mm-hmm.
for doing the other things. She's 6 years younger than me, so that's another big thing is when you're dating and somebody's younger, you gotta have to, need to look at that. But after that year mark, year and a half, somewhere around there, I then started realizing the amount of trauma that she experienced, and it
Yeah.
started to show up on me. Um, she tried to do certain things to herself, and it was wrecking me left and right. I just remember like hours and hours, weeks after weeks, calling my mom and my friends saying, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't know if I can be with this person. She's bringing up the past that I knew nothing about. She wants to do this to herself. I'm not going to use the words, and it tore me up inside.
Mm-hmm.
And I had friends in my life, but they were not friends that were like strong Christians.
Yeah.
They were friends that were saying, let's go party, let's go out drinking, let's go to a concert to get away from it. And it was tough for me because I would be fed into that.
Mm-hmm.
But all it did was like it didn't do anything to the pain. And then
Yeah.
we didn't know if
Tough.
our relationship, kind of like to finish that, like we dated for 2 years, and the last 2 months were the worst time of my life. Um, I had never experienced something in front of me like I did. And, I wasn't perfect. I will say that. Like, nobody's perfect. I got upset. I raised my voice when I was being treated disrespectfully. There were things that I could have done, but no relationship. There's no way that, one person is perfect and the other one's all wrong. There were things I did wrong.
Yeah.
I could have been more patient with her. I could have listened a lot better. I could have,
Yeah.
pushed my Georgia football game to the side because she wanted me to be at this other thing that was really special to her.
Yeah.
There's a plenty of things that I could have done, but there were a lot of things I did that I think when we broke up, I didn't understand. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
understand why I was like doing all this, and she was so willing to like do the opposite. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
how are her friends even allowing this to happen? And when we broke up, we were living in a 2 bedroom,
Mm-hmm.
and this is crazy, and this is honestly a little bit, maybe a little bit psycho. Um,
Oh gosh. I'm not
she
ready.
was doing a bunch of work trips.
Mm-hmm.
Something was fishy. She was going on all these work trips, and like she wasn't communicating with me as much. I just felt something deep in like my soul that was going on. I didn't know. I would never like cheat. I've never done that. But I just felt something. I didn't catch her. Like there wasn't something that was evidence, but there was afterwards. And she was emotionally cheating on me with somebody that she was working with. And when we broke up, she was like, I'm going to move out, or you can move out. I said, I'm not moving out. And she was like, all right, I'm going to move out. And so she ended up signing a 1 year lease, or an apartment lease. But what she didn't tell me was the next day that she signed this lease, she signed the lease in the same apartment complex that I live in. So I had 5 months left on my lease, and she signed a 6 month lease on the other side of the apartment complex. And me at the time, even though she put me through so much pain, and I know there's other people that are listening to this or watching this that have dealt something similar to this in a different way, she was trying to keep me somewhat close to not see me do things outside of the relationship or me with somebody else. And so signing a 1 year lease or a 6 month lease was what she wanted to do. And I was not happy. I was really pissed off. I was about to cut my lease early, but I was like, whatever. She's on the other side of the apartment complex. I'm not going to see her. I saw her almost every other day because she would walk the dog by my porch,
Oh gosh.
or I would be on a run and I would see her walking the dog. And she never walked the dog all the way to the other side,
Yeah.
like past the apartment, never. And so I would have to
Crazy.
change my times. And she was manipulating my mind, and I was doing it to myself. I could have went away. I could have moved out. That was on me. And so if you're listening to this, like there's relationships, there's people that manipulate in this kind of way, or I would say the word narcissists.
Yeah.
I never knew what that word was. Like I'd literally never heard of that word until that relationship. And I think where it was tough for me is because I'd do anything for that girl. I had a ring. I wanted to marry her. Like, and that is why it was so hard for me in that breakup.
What was
And
what was your biggest lesson in that
um,
relationship, looking back?
I would say get advice from people that actually are going to give you right advice. If you're getting, and also the biggest lesson probably is to not spew out your problems in your relationship with everyone.
Mm.
Because the more times you talk about the problems in your relationship with everyone, they see you with that person. They're like, oh, they're probably going to get into a fight, or oh, that person's probably going to do this.
Mm.
Sometimes you have to keep small things to yourself. Because for me, I cope with going to somebody that I trust and say, hey,
Yeah.
man, I don't know what to do in this situation. But if you do that too many times, you're never going to trust your own gut. You're never going to trust your
Mm.
own. So you're always going to be going to somebody else.
Yeah, you always need
I,
validation from others.
yeah,
There's good to have good counsel to be able
yeah,
to communicate and process, but at some point we can't get validation for every decision we make in life. We have to be able to trust ourselves and live with the consequence regardless of what the decision is.
yeah. And it was hard because I would second guess certain things and then I would go to other people and then I'm like, okay, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Um, and it just messed things up. Now, the person I was with, like I said, we broke up, and for months, it was really hard. It was
Mm.
really hard. My brain was all over the place. I was working out 3 times a day just to get away.
Mm.
And this is where my faith journey really, really started. Was I remember there was a day where I said, God, you're not in my life the way I want you to be, but use me in a way, like use me in some kind of way. Like right now, I'm going through these moments. I'm struggling. Like, what are you showing me? Like, what are you
Yeah.
trying to show me? Because there's something that I'm doing wrong, but there's also something that you're showing me that I keep running back to the same thing that's hurting me. And I we had broken up, and 3 months after that, there was a night to where she called me, and she was going through a lot of mental stuff, and I was there to support her. Nothing happened. I was just there to support her. And the next morning, I said, I can't have you in my life anymore. Like, I cannot, I'm gonna have to block you because you don't realize how much you're hurting me. And you're telling your friends the opposite and making me look like the bad person when you're doing all this to me. And
Mm.
that day, she tried to unalive herself. And I was there to experience it because I left and then I got a call from about 20 people. No lie. Like she had texted about 50 people saying that she wanted to end her. And I lived in the apartment complex. And so she took some medication and I ran over there. The cops were there, ambulance, and it was really tough. That was the most trauma I've ever seen because I'd seen it firsthand. I'd seen somebody that I love to death almost not be here. And that is when my relationship with God changed, is because when she was going through that, through what she was experiencing, I was there to support, but I was from afar. But there came a point to where I was like, God, like, if this person shouldn't be in my life, take them out of my life. Take them out of my life. Like, just please show me something that is going to take them out of my life. And I didn't plan on this, but somebody was at a dog park and they saw her with someone else. My buddy saw her with someone else and was like, I know you're not with her, but like, this is pretty crazy. And I was like, that was my wake up call, because something was going on, even though we were not together. So you can do what you want,
Mhm.
but I don't want to be a support system. Somebody that's been with you for years, and then you're out
Yeah,
with
while you're
somebody else.
dating somebody else, yeah.
Yeah, and
This is why I always caution, I have to say this is why I caution when you end a relationship, especially when it's with someone you've been with for a long time. And if it was unhealthy, you're likely traumatically bonded, right? So you have trauma bonds.
yep,
It has to be a clean cut. I don't
yep,
care how strong you think you are, how great of self will you have, or you think your self control is incredible. You have to have a clean break. You cannot be that person's support system. You can't be in contact with that person. It's just so vital, and I want to say that to everybody listening because it's a very very unhealthy, and it's impossible to move on when you're still in this person's life. And it's impossible to move on when even if they're leaning on you for support. It's just it doesn't work. So I think this is a good example of that, of just you can't stay in someone else's life when things are done. I think down the road, sure, if like 5 years down the road you want to be friends, but I think in the immediate aftermath of a breakup, you have to go. I really believe you have to go no contact.
Yeah. That was probably the best advice somebody told me, and I didn't listen to him. So that's where it comes down to, I think it's Matthew Hussey. I was watching a lot of his
Oh
videos.
yeah.
Um, I was, I'm an empath. So
Yeah.
I'm somebody that when I was going through that breakup, I was deep in reading scripture, listening to people. I wasn't going out drinking. I wasn't partying. I wasn't doing any of that. And when she finally moved away, so she finally moved to Nashville, that was the biggest relief in my life because that is when I feel like God was using me in a way that is going to keep on glorifying Him, and it's changed my life. And it was from I did 75 hard, which
Hmm.
loved the challenge, changed my life, like lost weight, but it was towards the end of it, I was posting videos every day
Hmm.
and I was reading the Bible every day, but I was not understanding it the way I do now. So I was like reading, but I was like, okay, like I'm reading the scripture, but I wasn't like really like all in.
Yeah.
And I had done a before and after video. It was like me um, getting super emotional. It was like one of the last days of 75 hard, and I was doing a stair workout at 4:30 in the morning. And what's crazy enough, especially in the times that we're in now, I was listening to Brandon Lake Gratitude, and it wrecked me. It gave me good. It gives me goosebumps just like thinking about it. It wrecked me, and I just started getting really emotional, and I was like crying, and I had my phone in my hand, and so I just hit record because I was like, this is going to be something I look back on. And the next, let's see, it was about a week after that. I think, or 2 weeks after that,
Hmm.
I made this one video, and that one video did 6 million views. And it wasn't about the views. It did 3 million views in one day.
Dang.
And I had 20,000 new people on my page. I was like, what is going on, God?
Wow.
Like, I didn't ask for this. Like, I was like, I don't know what to do. I was so overwhelmed.
That's crazy.
And I was all in on my relationship with God. I
Mhm.
was not dating. I was not going on dates. After that breakup, I needed to heal. And I think some people, when they look at healing, they put it on a timetable of, oh, well, how long? 1 month,
Mhm.
3 months? No, it may take you years to heal. For men, I may be wrong on this. You know way more than me. Men struggle with breakups. I personally think like on a longer scale
Yeah.
more than females do. In a
I.
shorter scale,
Mhm.
like I think women can usually get over a breakup, um, maybe a little bit
Yeah.
easier. But like guys, I think we struggle. We just might
Yeah.
show it.
I think I can give some insight as to why I think that is. I think men, because they struggle, I think, and this is in generality, they struggle to be vulnerable and they struggle to process emotion.
Yeah,
So when the breakup happens, they've got a lot of the emotion. It doesn't mean they don't have the emotion. They just don't know what to do with it, right? They don't know how to process it, how to communicate through it, how to feel it, right? They don't want to feel it because it feels horrible. And so what they do is they go to creature comforts or they focus on improving in all the external factors. So
yeah,
they either, a lot will get in. This is when everyone gets into their fitness routine, right?
hmm,
Or they go to negative things, right? They start drinking alcohol or they party a lot. They go out with friends. They hook up a ton. They just serial date. They just go after woman after woman. They're just trying to fill the void to not feel. And then when
yeah,
all of that doesn't really satisfy them, because it's not going to, they're going to hit a point where they realize, well, this isn't working. And then they're going to have to kind of start to process the breakup, which is why a lot of times they'll reach out to their ex 6 months later, right? And women are always
hmm,
like, why does the guy come back? Why does the guy always come back? That's why he comes back, because he hadn't actually processed anything until way later. And now suddenly they're like, wait, I messed up, or it was on me, or now I'm missing her and I want to be with her. And it's because all the other vices didn't work. And
yeah,
so I think that's why men struggle with it in the long run, because they actually aren't processing for the first couple months. They're
yeah,
really filling the void. And I think women are mourning and processing usually in the relationship. Because a lot of the time, let's say women who are maybe a little bit, I would say, healthier, maybe who ended the relationship, they're usually processing in the relationship at the end of it, right? Or if they're broken up with, they've got 7 friends they're calling and processing with. Their
Yeah.
sisters, their brothers, their family, or just girlfriends. Women will talk about the same thing 17 times until they've processed it. I've gotten voice message from friends processing the same thing from slightly different angles for weeks. It's basically free therapy. All my friends, you are welcome. But I think that's why. I think that's why we see that. I think men in the long term, a lot in the long run struggle because of that. And I think women can kind of, I would say, get over it quicker a little bit because they are actually processing the pain. They actually are processing. And I think after any major breakup, like, you need time. And people who don't think that, I can cite so many reasons why I think it's really, really detrimental for you to go from one relationship to another, or even to serial date. I think when you break up, you need some time.
Yeah. And that was the first breakup where I actually sat there and was like, okay, I'm going to have God at the center of my life. And that is what opened my eyes to realizing that if he is not involved in my life, like, how,
Mm-hmm.
if I want a relationship with him involved, then I need to build a relationship with him first.
Yep.
And I was somebody that was going from relationship to relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And so for a year, I didn't date, I didn't hook up. That's something that, like, most men can't say, but I just didn't. And
Mm-hmm.
it was really, really, really hard because when you are so used to a past of, like,
Mm-hmm.
being intimate with somebody, and then you go a full year and you're like, all right, God, I know I'm going to struggle here. I know I might struggle here, but if I want you at the center, then I need to be involving you in every single area of my life.
Yeah.
And so I didn't have distractions. I wasn't, I think I, like, downloaded Hinge a few weeks after the breakup, but
Of course. That's what everyone
I
does.
think I went on one date. Like, I went on one date and that was it. I didn't do anything with the girl. Um, but yeah, I spent a
Yeah.
whole year where I was, like, fully focused on my health. I did 75 hard twice. I did it the second time at the end of the year, and I coached about 30 people through it.
Wow.
And through that whole journey is what opened my eyes to the need for a relationship with God, but also where not only, like, women do too, but men struggle with it the most is knowing what that looks like, and
Mhm.
also being okay with being vulnerable and opening up about
Yeah.
their sin and repenting and doing these kind of things. And so that year, my Instagram page blew up because I was in the Word every day. I was
Mhm.
being obedient. I was going to church. Yes, I still struggled in certain areas, but I was focusing on my health. I was helping other people. And even small little posts that were 10 seconds long,
Mhm.
I felt like God was using him all. I mean, 100% it's all for his glory. It's not for me. I'm using the platform to share his word.
Yeah.
But something that was, maybe I posted a year before, maybe would get a few hundred views, 4 million, 2 million. And my page was like, I was very overwhelmed. And so what I started to do is I would, I would tell people, like, hey, I'm trying to get back to everyone, but I also need time with, I was being very, very cautious about, like,
Mm.
talking too much through my DMs.
Mm.
But one thing I did do after the first week of that viral video, I said, if anyone needs prayers, send me a DM and let me pray for you.
Mhm.
And what I did was, I didn't realize this. I had 650 messages the next day.
Wow.
That is what opened my eyes to the need for God. And that is what opened my eyes to see the pain that other people are going through. And I read every one of them. People were talking about divorce, a lot of single mothers, a lot.
Mhm.
Most of my following on my page is women. 78% of my
Really?
followers are women. Yep. I think it's because of what I talk about. I do see more men, now involved in my life, but also
Mhm.
just wanting to share the gospel. But most men don't do that because they're afraid
Yeah.
of, they don't want to be judged.
Absolutely. And I think, like we mentioned earlier, I think men struggle with vulnerability and going to other
Hmm.
men. And I think that's something that you touch a lot on your Instagram that I really appreciate too is like I love one that you've dove in, head first into community groups or your Bible study with other men. I think that is so important. Like if we want to see men healing and men rising up to be amazing leaders, godly leaders,
Mhm.
and healing their own emotions and things that are going on internally for them, I think they're going to have to do it within themselves, with amongst themselves, is what I mean. Like, I think there's so much healing when a man can go to other men and be open and honest and vulnerable with what they're struggling with and allow other men to speak into their lives and to pray over them.
Yeah.
That is powerful healing. I think that I mean, therapy is great. All the other things are great. But I think as a Christ follower, being able to do that, I think even, I mean, whatever, even if you're not a Christian, I think finding men that you can actually confide in and be vulnerable with is so invaluable. And I think will take you further in your growth than I think a lot of other things will.
Yeah. If there's something that I can tell anyone that's, listening or watching this, if there's um, the area of my life that has helped the most was the community aspect of it,
Yeah.
is getting involved. If people come to me and say, "Hey, how can I build a stronger relationship with God?" Well, one, you should get a Bible, but two, you should get around people that are doing the same thing, that are in the Word, that are speaking truth, that are, sharing their testimonies, that are opening up, that are repenting so you can see that it's okay. We have guys in our Bible study talk about their struggle with lust. And every time somebody brings it up, somebody else says, "You know what? I'm struggling with that too." So it makes you feel like you're comfortable with sharing things. Because if not, we mask that and then we hide
Yeah,
it and then we push it to the side. And
exactly.
what happens is those things that men struggle with, lust, is probably one of the biggest things. What happens is we then, if we don't fix that issue at hand, it is then incorporated or put into other areas of our lives, and we don't realize it until we see it. We don't
Absolutely.
realize that like we're creating this like almost fantasy that's not real.
Yep.
And when you're around godly men, when you're around community, when you're involved in Bible studies, I'm involved in 3 Bible studies, and one of them is virtual. We have 250 guys in it, and we have about 70 people every week that are in the Word.
Wow.
And then the other two are about 20 and then 40 guys every week. And it's different people almost every time.
Hmm.
And when I see these men just like opening up and just like, it's, I never thought I'd be like involved in it, I guess you would say. Like the old
Yeah.
me was hungover on a Friday morning from going out Thursday. Now I'm waking up at 4 a.m. to work out and, enjoying to have the opportunity to go to Bible study and to be around other men. So
Yeah.
it's it's been a blessing, and it's something that's really changed my life. And with my page and with my Instagram, it's like every day I tell God, use me in a way that's going to keep glorifying you. Like, what are you trying to show me today that I don't see already? But
Hmm.
like, please, there's a verse. It's like, please help my unbelief. Like,
Hmm.
what am I not believing in my life about myself? What
Hmm.
insecurities do I have? What am I lacking that I'm really not lacking, but I think I am? Because He gives us everything that we need. If we steward the things that He gives us, He multiplies. That is what He does. And
Yes,
my
absolutely.
my favorite verse, it's on my arm, Isaiah 43:2. Through the deepest of waters, I will be with you. Or when you go through deep waters, I will be with you.
Mm.
And to me, it's like He is with us through every situation. It doesn't matter if it's a trial, if it's through a grievance. Right now, what we have going on in the world, He is at the forefront of it. If we put Him in that space, that is when miracles happen. The more we involve Him in our lives,
Hmm.
the more that we're going to see the fruit, the more that we
Yeah.
are putting out into the world in service and helping other people, and getting involved in local groups and churches. When you start to experience that, and when you start to see that, your mind then gets fixed on that, not on the worldly things. Your mind gets fixed on, how can I help other people? How could I be involved in helping homeless people? We do that every other month. We go and feed the homeless. And to seeing these people light up from just a chicken sandwich
Hmm.
is those are the moments I'll always remember. And that is what God calls us to do, is to serve
Yep.
and to look at other people that we may see struggling, and to be that extra set of, of service, of eyes that can help them in their life.
Yep.
That's what we should be doing. So
Yeah.
it's it's through my brokenness that I experienced that I was able to have God reopen my eyes to the things that I was missing in my life. And that,
Yeah.
you
It's
know,
beautiful.
that's
Well,
what
and
sometimes we deal with, is through the
yeah.
pain to the purpose of it.
I think you're such a testament to, and I thank you for being so open and honest in this episode and just sharing your heart and sharing your story with me and with my audience. But I think you're such a testament to God using everything for good. And recently I listened to a sermon that totally changed my perspective on that verse, because she redefined what good meant. And good was to make us more like Jesus. That's what good is. It's not good the way we see it in our worldly view. And when she said that, her name is Megan Marshman Fate. Love her. She's an amazing author and pastor. It just changed my perspective on that verse. And I think you're such a great example of that, of God using your entire past, everything that you've done, your relationships, to get you to where you are today. And he used it to make you more like him. So he does use it for our good, but I think we have to recognize what our good is. And our good is always going to be, how do we get closer to him? How do we become more like him? And I love that what you're using in your singleness right now is it's your time to get closer to him and to serve others. And we so miss that, I think, as Christians in our singleness. And yes, it's hard. Being single in many ways is hard, but I think in that, it's like we get to be used so much more than I think we would be in a relationship. So if we just change our perspective of like, Lord, how can I serve in this season versus where's my person, And of course that happens, but I think a life of service sets you up so much better to be in a great relationship and to be a great partner for somebody else, I think, when we can serve others. So I just want to thank you for that. I can see God's hand in your life, and I want to thank you for your obedience to what he's called you to do, especially in this season. Is it's definitely, it's tough being on the internet and putting yourself out there and sharing God's word and sharing what he's doing in your life is tough, and it's not always going to be well received. But I want to share that and thank you for that, because I think you're going to, like, through God is going to change lives through you. And I think what he asks us at the end of the day is for our obedience and our yes. And I think you've done that, and I think it's incredible. And I can't wait to see and to watch what God will. Because I actually remember when you were doing 75 Hard, which is really weird. I'm like, God, we've been connected that long. But I'm excited to see. It's been. I think I didn't realize that I've like was connected with you kind of through this process. So it's so funny because even timing, like, I'm glad we did the podcast now and not earlier. Like, it's just, I feel like everything always works out the way it's supposed to. And so I just want to say thank you for that, and I'm excited to see what God is going to do through you, in this season. So thanks, Wes.
I appreciate it. Thank you for letting me share, and for anyone that's listening to this, if there's a piece of advice or something that I can say, it's, we live in a world that is already so broken, and there are people that are probably going to listen to this that may not have a relationship with God, but you never know what a relationship with him can look like until you at least give it a shot. And that could be just getting a Bible and reading a few verses here and there. And then you starting to see, okay, like, God's more involved in my life. Like, I'm seeing this. I want to get to know him more. I want to understand what it means to be intimate with him. The more you start to see that, the more you start to get closer to him, the more you'll also see your need for him. Mm-hmm. But in the beginning, it's not easy. Like he says, we're going to face trials of many kinds. Mm-hmm. Like, we are going to. He suffered more than we will, like, ever suffer. He suffered more than we will ever suffer. And so, if we're in moments of broken.
Yeah, he was perfect and persecuted,
Exactly. And so to see that and to know that and to have a loving father that's like, hey, I'm here. I'm going to be by your side through whatever you experience. Mm-hmm. You just have to call to me. The more you start doing that, it changed everything for me. But you're going to get distracted. You're going to have things that come up in your life. We're going to have things that maybe pull us away from our faith. But something I was truly love is, like, he's such a loving father that he calls us back. He doesn't push us to the side. He doesn't say, hey, not giving you a second chance. Mm-hmm. And so that's something to always keep a hold of. It's just knowing that, mm-hmm. He's always there. He's present in every single thing you do. Yes. You could talk to him about anything. Mm-hmm. You don't have to, you don't have to spread lies to him, because he knows what's going on in your life.
Yeah.
The more you open up, the more you share, the more, you invite him in, mm-hmm. the more he will be in your life.
Yeah, amen. It will be the best decision you ever make.
Mm-hmm.
Truly. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on and giving me your time. And I thank you and I value you for who you are and I appreciate you.
Appreciate you. Thank you for having me.